Well, welcome everybody to our weekly Wednesday night live for our mindful moments. Every Wednesday at 7:30 Mountain Standard Time, we come live here on Instagram. We are going to be moving to YouTube soon. Probably within next month, we'll be moving over to YouTube and going live over there. Hey, Blake.
Hi.
So every Wednesday we come and we just talk about a different topic each week. Our DMs are always open as well. If anybody has anything that you want us to talk about in specific, our YouTube channels, if you haven't already been following us, are in our link trees and in our highlights as well. So please feel free to go follow us, like, and subscribe. And we post all of these recordings onto our YouTube channel as well. So if you miss some of the YouTube or if you miss a session, you can always go watch the recording there. And oftentimes, Emma and I will both share through our stories a little snippet of the recording, and we'll put it into our highlights as well. So you can go to watch the link directed straight to that one. And last week so it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So last week we discussed about that and shared some of our personal stories and things that we went through and everything. And then today we're going to kind of, follow up on that and talk a little bit about how like domestic violence can really affect your mental health in different ways as well. So we're going to talk about some different ways and go over that and how to help overcome and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, leaving, we talked a little bit about safe leaving last time, just some tips. Again, you always want to reach out to professionals when you're leaving one of those relationships, but the impact of the grief and the loss and self-esteem and the self-doubt that's carried along with that can have like long-term effects. Um,
Yeah.
and so I think that people often think that, that you experience grief only if someone passes away or something like that, or something really traumatic has happened. But you can grieve, like when you leave a domestic violent relationship, or any relationship for that matter. It doesn't have to just be domestic violence, but you grieve what you thought was going to happen. You grieve who you thought that person was, or you grieve some of your life plans, because that's going to change, right? So
Yeah.
there is a lot of loss and grief and loss. David Kessler, he is like a guru, and you can find him on YouTube and in books, and he's done so much work. So he's somebody that I definitely recommend listening to, and he's just such a kind soul. In the way that he kind of expresses the grief and the loss and the empathy for that. So that's somebody that I definitely would recommend listening to.
Thanks for that recommendation. I'll have to start listening to him too.
He teaches so much. Like he even talks about, like I saw one part when he was talking about somebody had addressed him because they were really upset because their wedding was going to be put off because of COVID. And that's a type of grief, and how people process that grief and
Mhm.
stuff. And I won't get it too much into it, but he had lost his son, and
Um,
kind of guided him into learning more about this. And so, yeah, I definitely would recommend listening to some of his stuff, because he has some really good ideas and insights.
yeah. And if anybody wants the link to it or anything, or if you want, we can send you it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Just ask us in our DMs, or we can put his name. Yeah, yeah, we'll put his name in the comments with YouTube. Um, but yeah, and we can send you his name, Carrie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great idea. We'll add all of his or his information to our YouTube description.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So he's he's done a lot of stuff like that. So that's something that I think is really important, and it crosses the board, right, with all kinds of types of grief and loss. So um, and another thing I think like is about like losing yourself, right? Losing your own identity in those kind of relationships, losing your self-esteem and having more
Yeah.
self-doubt and lack of trust in yourself because of sometimes, I guess, you've made some decisions that maybe you feel were wrong, but you blame yourself for those. So self-love and things like that are very, very important to really focus on after you're safe and leaving and can start to process.
Yes, no, most definitely. Because yeah, you'll have lots of self-doubt and lots of like questioning and just the way you're feeling, right? After going through all that. It affects you in so many different ways.
It really does. It really does.
And
And yeah, so like just I know that you're doing a
yes,
little bit of stuff on self-love right now. If you
yeah, I was gonna say,
want to share
speaking of
that.
self-love, I've actually like I've done like I focus on like I've been on a really like a healing journey over the last 8 years and everything. And I have prioritized like reading and affirmations and taking care of my body and my health and everything like that. But just recently, actually, just as of last week, my friend Ruth got me the self-love books. And it's so important because like it's a self-love workbook for women. Most women like we get so lost in our busy days and like always worrying about taking care of others that we often forget about ourselves as well. And prioritizing, and most of us, including myself, we don't prioritize self-love, right? So I love this journal. It's really helping me on my self-love journey that I just started last week. And so every moment, so I've dedicated to, because you got to really dedicate when you have that time to yourself to do your self-love and everything, right? So I'm waking up earlier in the day and dedicating my first 30 minutes. So before turning on any like my phone or nothing, just keeping everything off and just kind of focusing on my journal and my self-love. And there's so many different exercises through here as well that really gets you thinking and everything too. That's been really helpful and beneficial as
What's one
well.
of
So I'm
your
really looking
favorite exerses so far? Or what
well
is an
just
exercise that
recently.
has made you think, I guess, a little bit outside what you would normally think?
Um, well, just recently, like I did like a I wrote a letter to myself as well, right? My past self too. Kind of like that was a kind of good exercise. And then going through all the different uh sorry, I'm just gonna open this up.
No, no, absolutely.
And I also like because it gets you really thinking about because we're very critical to ourselves too, right? We have a lot of negative self to ourselves. And when I went through this too, because I did a personality test as well. Um, but like it's asking you too to like really kind of focus on like 3 ways that you show your self love, your body love, nutritious way, like asking you all the different things that you engage in, getting you to set like specific goals too for your self love as well.
Okay.
And there's a bunch of like deeper quizzes, and I've had me like make a powerful like women's playlist too that I can play like for on Spotify while
That's
I'm
really
doing
cool.
like empowering songs and everything, and getting me to write my affirmations about like I have my affirmations and stuff, but like specifically about my self love and feeling worthy and everything, right?
Hmm.
And we did this morning. I did a meditation. It had a guided meditation too, which made me feel really connected as well. It kind of guided you through on how to meditate and with all the colors and yeah.
That's really cool. And I think, yeah, like really being mindful, and we talked about that when we named our kind of podcast here, but being mindful about like being in the present, right? Um, is being, we want to be like mindful of the moment and what's happening, checking in with ourselves. How are we feeling? What are we thinking? What are our thoughts doing, right? And
Yeah.
because we all seem to live, not all, but I'll say a lot of people, and I'm guilty of it too, live on autopilot, where you get up and you have
Yeah.
this thing and you go and you go and you go and you go, and you're not even thinking about it, right? And during that time, you're like, your brain and your subconscious are talking and talking and talking, and whether or not you really realize it, you're always listening.
Yeah. Our brains are always moving 24/7.
Absolutely. So stopping and being mindful, or even like setting an alarm on your phone, that when it goes off, it's like, check in with my thoughts. Like, what am I thinking right now,
Yeah.
right? To try and like change that into some of your positive thoughts.
Yeah. No, exactly. Exactly. Because it's good to check in with yourself throughout the day too, right? And making sure that if you have any negative thoughts come into your mind, always trying to turn them to positive too, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I call them your ants, right? Your automatic negative thoughts. So things that like
Yeah.
happen and it's so automatic. And we say things to ourselves, like we'll say, "Oh, I'm stupid because like look what I just did," or whatever. No, you
Yeah.
just made a mistake and now you can learn from that, right? So it's really like
Yeah.
wanting to challenge what you're saying to yourself, and that can be really, really hard.
Yeah, exactly. And we all have negative thoughts about ourselves. Even going
Yeah.
through here too, it's kind of getting me to think about like the negative things that you think of yourself and like what are some positive things about yourself too. And sometimes it can be hard to think of those things too, right?
And
And
especially leaving like a negative relationship or a toxic relationship when you've almost been like brainwashed, right? Like you
yeah,
hear it over and over and over again, these comments that are so negative about you and all those kind of things that it becomes like you hear it and you hear it and you hear it and it becomes a part of your everyday thoughts, right? Whether or not you absolutely think that about yourself, you hear it so much. And
yeah,
again, your subconscious listens.
yeah, exactly. So be kind to yourself always. Like try to be kind to yourself. I know it's hard when, like Emma said, you are brainwashed and you think all these bad things about yourself. And yeah, Carrie's right too. When we have a lot of the times when we have the negative thoughts and stuff, it's from the devil wanting to hold you down as well.
Yeah, yeah. And focusing on your strengths, right? Like we all have weaknesses. Everybody has something that, they're not super, super good at, and it's something that you can always work at and learn. But
Yeah,
we all have a lot of strengths. So looking at it really on a strength-based approach is like, how can you use your strengths to kind of overcome that thought, or how can you use your strengths to help to be more positive, those kind of things, and focusing on the things that you do really well.
yeah, exactly. And that's actually some of the exercises in here too, where it asks you to like focus on your strengths. What are your strengths? What are your, you know,
Yeah, yeah. And those are things that you think about even for like interviews and stuff. And people say like, what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses and those kind of things. And even like in an interview, um you can say what you need to improve on or what you would like to improve on, but also put that in a positive way, right? Where you're recognizing the things that you can do or the steps that you're taking to address that.
yeah,
And I say that
exactly.
because coming out of a bad relationship, and some women are needing to look for work, those kind of things. And it's hard to go into an interview when you're not feeling good about yourself, right? Or if you're like, oh, I'm this, like naming all these good positive affirmations, but you don't really believe it, like it does come
Mhm.
true. So saying that's why I'm saying building on your strengths, because those are the things that you can really believe and grasp onto.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes for affirmations, sometimes you might not believe all the affirmations that you have written down, but you can continue to say them out loud. That's why I always say my affirmations out loud too, so your brain hears you saying it to yourself. And sometimes you might not believe all the things that you're like the affirmations, but you say them every single day still until you start to believe that in yourself.
Yeah, a positive peer group is definitely huge, that they can call you on your stuff when you're, being a bit negative, or they can lift you up. Um, Again, like even with the business that we do, we get to choose who we work with, so we work with a lot of positive people and people who are uplifting and people who are supporting and those kind of things. So
Yeah.
that makes a huge difference.
Oh yeah, it makes a big difference on who you surround yourself with, for sure.
Thank you, Carrie. Um,
Aw, thank
and
you.
being consistent, that's another thing. And that's with anything. That's with our business, and that's with, you know, building our YouTube, which we're doing. That's with,
Yeah.
you know, your self-talk with, again, like Chandra's doing it every morning
Self-love.
where she her time with her self-love. Yeah, so consistency is also really, really important.
Yes.
Thank you, Blake.
Consistency is key to everything. I know we talk about that all the time.
Yes, we
And
do.
then once you kind of get into that routine too, right? Like I just started my self-love journey, so it takes a little bit of time to get into that routine, your daily habits and everything. But once you kind of have that consistency, it's easy to get into that routine.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's building those positive moments into your life, right? Things that you're doing positively for yourself. And as you fill your cup, you can fill other people's cups better, you know?
Exactly.
I said
Exactly.
don't pour into somebody's cup that's not going to pour into yours.
Yeah. No, exactly. And if someone is toxic to you in your life, start to distance your. I've distanced myself from anybody who is toxic to me. If you feel like they're just kind of draining you down or taking your energy away.
Yeah, absolutely.
And and
Absolutely.
that's where like Emma and I like we've found this amazing supportive community that inspires us every day. And yeah, it makes all the difference when you're surrounding yourself with positivity daily. And if there's any negative things, even on social media, 'cause we see negative things all the time, I actually unfollow everybody who posts anything negative.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and because you can
And that's actually what my self-love book said too, to
anything
write down all my, and actually I was really good at that part because it said to write down all of your social media platforms and then write down things that, like that might bring you down or things about your platforms. But I actually had nothing because I've already done that. I've already kind of unfollowed any negativity there. So no negativity really shows up on my newsfeed ever.
yeah, no, mine either. I
Or anything
can't
that brings me
post
down.
anything that's really negative. Again, you influence your algorithm too.
Yeah,
Thank you, Carrie.
exactly.
Yeah, you can do that. Um, so I guess the last thing kind of is, you know, when we're talking about challenging, so yeah, like when we're talking about challenging our thoughts and stuff, sometimes we have to challenge our reality, right? Because sometimes we're seeing things through the lens that we want to see things through, and that's not actually what's happening, right? So sometimes taking those glasses or that hope that you have, or the way that you're, like, some of our experiences shape how we see things, and sometimes we don't see things for what they are, and so it's really important to gather the facts of that and saying, okay, what are the facts? What has happened? What's positive? What's negative? You know, and really weighing that out, um, so that you can see what's really happening.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes it's hard to see what's actually happening and going on, right?
Yeah, because our
But
brains are trained to want to pick out the good things or the things that
I
are
know,
making us feel good. So we like overlook what's actually really happening, right? And that can be so
yeah,
detrimental.
yeah. That can be challenging. I'm better now with that, but like speaking of like seeing only the good, I always see the good in someone before I see, and I have a hard time seeing the bad in someone, which like,
Yeah.
gave me trouble in the
No,
past.
no,
But
absolutely.
you want to believe that everybody has good intentions and everybody is good, but not everybody is. And I have become more aware from all the things that I've gone through in life on how to pick out the red flags and stuff, like we talked about on one of our lives.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just want to see the good in everybody because we're good people. So we want to just wish the best for everybody. And
Yeah.
you
And
always
in one of our shorts is actually, I had said something like, you know, if somebody does a behavior more than once, that's a choice, right? And when they make
yeah,
that choice, that's who they are, right? And then it's on us to believe them and not. Sometimes I'm like, I better double check, triple check, you know, 4 times check. And I was like, all 4 times it comes out the same answer. And I was like, yeah, yeah. Once they show you, believe it,
yeah,
right? Like, don't keep
exactly.
going back to make sure, because I mean,
Yeah,
don't question yourself, right? If that's the energy or the negativity, or you know, the toxic whatever comes,
Yeah.
walk away from that.
Yeah. Immediately.
Yeah,
They can try
absolutely.
to portray to themselves to be someone who they aren't, and then you start to believe them, and then you see the signs, and then you kind of fall back into it, and it becomes a vicious cycle.
Yeah, I learned that the hard way too.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, yeah, and getting in your head and thinking and stuff, like you can go down a real rabbit hole. Not that I know anything
Yeah.
about that, but yeah, our thoughts
Yeah.
can run away with us, and that's why it's so important to really just try and focus on what's real, focus on the positive parts of it, and focus on what is best for us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm a thinker. I
I
like to close things down and think too. I go down the rabbit hole. But
think we can all be good for that.
right. Well, it was
So,
great to see
yeah.
everybody tonight, and we're trying to work on the guest speaker for next week, um, because it is the end of the month, so we are gonna try and bring that on, and we appreciate everybody for being here. And it's free to subscribe to our YouTube, like, and it's really helpful for us. In helping us to build. We do shorts throughout the week, so there is things posted on our YouTube, not just our lives here, but yeah, yeah, I know. That needs a reality check.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
feel free to also share our link with anybody that you may know who would want to subscribe, or we could add value to their life.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But
Yeah.
so when we post this, we will put the information in the chat or in the, sorry, in the description of the video when we post it on YouTube.
Yeah, so we'll let you guys know when the link is up. We usually post it through our stories once the recording is posted. And then, yeah, you can feel free to stop by, share it with anybody, or tag anybody's name below.
Yeah, yeah, tagging people's name is great too.
Yeah, yeah. Tag someone who may need to hear this.
Yeah. Well, we
And we want to
appreciate
thank,
everybody for coming.
yes, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be here with us tonight. We appreciate each and every one of you. And we hope you all have a blessed night. And we're sending lots of love and positive vibes out to each and every one of
Good
you.
night. Send you
Bye.
love. Bye.